Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, my dear students, let us proceed. We started chapter 6 and we have studied about anode, cathode, and all those kind of stuffs. The redox reaction, the electronic theory of reduction and oxidation in the last class. Today we are going to study about the theory of electrolytic dissociation. The theory of electrolytic dissociation. Okay, let us try to understand this step by step. Theory of electrolytic dissociation. Dissociation means the breaking apart, yani getting divided into constituents. Electrolytic dissociation. So when an electrolyte gets divided, gets broke up into its constituents, gets dissociated into its constituents, that is what electrolytic dissociation means. So the theory of electrolytic dissociation was given by Arrhenius. Is the chemist Arrhenius. Arrhenius gave this. This is also known as Arrhenius theory. Okay, this is also known as Arrhenius theory. Arrhenius theory. Now let us try to understand what did Arrhenius say. Okay, the first point of Arrhenius theory is that an electrolyte on dissolving in water dissociates into free mobile ions, cations and anions, and allows the flow of an electric current through it. The Arrhenius said that an electrolyte get ionized, an electrolyte get dissociated or get ionized only when you dissolve that electrolyte in water. Okay, so when you mix this electrolyte into water, you dissolve this electrolyte into water, water makes this electrolyte ionized. Okay, water makes this electrolyte dissociated into its constituents, into cations and anions. Okay, so when you mix the electrolyte to water, then only it will get dissociated, according to Arrhenius. Then only it will get dissociated, okay, into the ions. And what are the ions? The positively charged cations and the negatively charged anions, Okay, so for example, if you took NaCl, so according to Arrhenius, when you add water or you dissolve NaCl to water, what will happen? Water will make this electrolyte dissociated into Na plus and Cl minus, thereby making it ionic. Okay, yani ionizing it. Okay, according to Arrhenius. So only water can make an electrolyte conduct electricity. Okay, only water can make an electrolyte ionized. Okay, the second point, according to Arrhenius, this is according to Arrhenius. The second point, according to Arrhenius, all ions carry an electric charge and are responsible for the flow of current through the solution. So you saw that all the electrolytes, they carry a charge. Okay, they carry a charge, plus and minus. So when you take an electrolyte, suppose this is an electrochemical cell, electrolytic cell. This is anode, this is cathode. Okay, and we have connected the anode and cathode like this. So this is positively charged, this is negatively charged, and we took an electrolyte which has some negative charged anions. Okay, because we have dissolved this electrolyte into water, so definitely they will get dissociated into the positively and negatively charged anions and cations. And you know what will happen when you switch on the circuit? These positively charged anions, these positively charged cations will start moving towards the cathode. Okay, negatively charged is cathode, you already know that. And these negatively charged anions will start moving towards the anode, that is the positively charged electrode. Okay, and when these charges move about, what will happen? Electricity will start to flow in the electrolyte in this direction, from plus to minus. You studied this in physics. Thus current electricity travels from plus to minus. So when charges move about, what will happen? Electricity will start to move in the electrolyte. So according to Arrhenius, he says that the ions which were dissociated from the electrolyte, they carry charges, and due to these charges they are responsible for the flow of current through the solution. I understood. Now let us move to the third point of Arrhenius theory. The conductivity of electrolyte depends upon the concentration of the ions in the solution. Very good, very interesting, very interesting. That is the conductivity of the electric current. So current's conductivity is directly proportional to the concentration of ions. Okay, so if an electrolyte is having lots of ions, it will conduct more current. If has relatively less ions, it will conduct less amount of electric current. So the current's conductivity, the conductivity of current solely depends upon what is the concentration of ions. It is higher, is it higher or is it lower? Okay, so if the concentration of ions, that is the electrolyte, is getting dissociated into more number of ions, then current electricity will pass through it, more electricity will pass through that solution, that electrolyte. If it has less number of ions, if it is not getting dissociated completely or to a very less extent, then less amount of electricity will pass through it. This was the third law of Arrhenius. Now the fourth point which Arrhenius made in his law was the number of positive charges equals the number of negative charges in the solution, and thus the solution is an electrolytic equilibrium. The equilibrium is also established between the unionized molecules and the ions produced. So according to Arrhenius, he said that the number of cations, that is the positively charged ions, will equal to the number of anions. So when an electrolyte gets dissociated, there is always an equilibrium. Okay, there is always an equilibrium. And what is that? That is known as the electrolytic equilibrium. Electrolytic equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium मतलब होता है balance. So क्या होता है? Number of cations, positively charged ions, equals the number of anions, the negatively charged ions. Okay, and this is what electrolytic equilibrium means. He also said that not only the ions are in equilibrium but between themselves, but the ions and the molecules are also in equilibrium. He also said, that is in the fourth point only, he also said that the number of ions, that is in total, cations plus anions, will be in equilibrium to the number of molecules. So not only the ions are in equilibrium between themselves, but also in total, that is the ions, cations plus anions, are in equilibrium to the number of molecules. That is the unionized ions. What does this mean? This means that if you took NaCl as an electrolyte, what will happen? It will get when you dissolve this in water, it will get dissociated into Na plus and Cl minus, isn't it? So he is saying that Arrhenius is saying that the number of Na plus and the number of Cl minus ions, they may be thousands, they may be millions as well. Okay, so they will be in equilibrium to each other. Suppose you had 1000 Na plus, so then definitely you will have 1000 Cl minus anions in the molecule, and the collective number of Na plus and Cl minus is 2000. So definitely you have 2000 number of Na plus NaCl molecule, okay, that is unionized, because not the electrolyte is not completely ionized. Some portion of some number of molecules get yani remains unionized. This is what Arrhenius said. Okay, now the fifth point which he made, the fifth point, let us move to the fifth point, my dear students. He said that in non-electrolytes that they are not electrolytes, okay, such as sugar solution, benzene, organic compounds like this, there is no ionization and therefore only molecules are present in solution. He said that in non-electrolytes like sugar solution, benzene, kerosene, organic compounds, you can take organic compounds. We will study organic chemistry inshallah in the upcoming future. So in non-electrolytes, no ions are present. Why? That's why they are non-electrolyte. No electrons, okay, no charges. So no ions are present. That is only molecules. That is only molecules are present. Only molecules are present. Therefore they don't conduct electricity, because for conducting electricity, that solution, that electrolyte has to have the ions, that is cations moving towards the cathode and ions moving towards the anode. Without this movement, how can electricity pass through that solution? So that's impossible for non-electrolytes. Why? Because they don't have ions, they have only unionized molecules. Okay, now let us move towards the last point of Arrhenius' theory, that is the degree of dissociation is the extent to which an electrolyte dissociates or breaks up into ions. Okay, he said, Arrhenius said that the degree of dissociation matlab to how much extent that electrolyte can get dissociated, to how much extent, कितना वो electrolyte dissociate हो सकता है, मतलब उसके molecules, कितने number of molecules dissociate हो सकते हैं, that is the degree of dissociation. So according to Arrhenius, degree of dissociation is the extent to which an electrolyte dissociates or breaks up into ions. मतलब how much of the electrolyte can get dissociated, ये है degree of dissociation. I hope you understood Arrhenius theory. In the next video we are going to understand about conduction in compounds.